call this meeting to order, whether Vincent was ready for it or not. First, we have a public hearing this evening that is up on the agenda, and that is a public hearing of the Council of the City of Buckhannon regarding proposed enactment of Ordinance 473 of the City of Buckhannon, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance number 244 of the City of Buckhannon by rezoning certain properties on South Kanawha Street, Putnam Street, and Morning Drive from the current R1 single-family residential district to a C2 highway commercial district. Is there anyone here this evening that wishes to speak on this subject matter? Going once, going twice. Is there a motion to close the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rigger. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Sanders. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries unanimously. The public hearing has been concluded. We will take up the item under our business items in just a little bit. Now, we will call our regularly scheduled meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. I'd ask that you take a moment to reflect silently, and then we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Scoot up a little bit. Oh, sorry. I would ask that you approve the meeting minutes. We have a set from 3:20.
That's the only one.
Okay. Would you please pass those as presented if you have no additions or corrections?
So moved.
Motion by Scott, second by Rob. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Recognition of guests that have signed in, or when the time the agenda was printed, let us know they wish to speak. We have Jody Light from the Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash.
I love that. Thank you, Mayor and council members and everyone here, as a matter of fact. Just want to give you a kind of a quick wrap up, and I won't go into a lot of details. Council, you have in front of you a kind of a summary. I tried to make it short, sweet, to the point as to what we hope we accomplish. And I do want to say a few things to some of those folks here I would like to thank. I want to thank you as the city council members and the mayor for your generous financial support and the city's support of the event. Secondly, I want to thank Ethan Casa back here and his public works department, JB and the fire department. I don't see any police here, but they did a tremendous job. Public works department helped set up power lines, water lines, banners. They got food vendors in their new spots. It just was a definite deviation from the past. In the last, 3 weeks, we had 2 weeks to completely re-engineer where we were going to put all the food vendors. Most of them were happy. We had a couple of them work because they didn't have their prime spot. But, you know, you get lemons, you make lemonade, and that's what we did, and we hope it went as well as it could be. So I want to thank everyone involved with the city from top to bottom. I mean, we tried to do well by them, and I hope they did. We invited them to our VIP dinner. Several of you came. We appreciate that. We invited them to have breakfast with us on Saturday morning, and some of them got to eat. We actually sent some ribs out to the police department and the fire department, and we sent a lot of food over to the police and fire department. So hopefully they got to try some different foods and things like that and enjoyed it. The city sponsorship, which we greatly appreciate, was used to do the majority of the cash prizes. We give away $11,000 or $12,000, and that generous donation you did basically funded that. In addition, I think it's just really important. This was our 10th year anniversary, and we were determined to make an event that everything was free. It was tough. We had to get a lot of sponsorships and such, but that's why I wanted to give you a list of those things. Everything in our event, other than the one balloon guy, and he was on his own, was charging for his things. But we were really tickled to be able to give away 3 shows of the Dino Roar show, which is not cheap, on Friday and Saturday, and there were 3 shows per day. We had the butterfly and the ladybug exhibits. They were totally free, came out of Florida. We were excited to have the West Virginia DEP and DNR mobile aquarium. It was amazing how many people got to see fish that are native to West Virginia, and there were people on deck there to answer questions and so forth. The Laurel Falconer, who had owls and hawks and different things. He does a great display, but he also does those, what do they call them, where they're coming back on his arm. I forget what they call it, but anyway, he did those demos and was quite interesting. We also provide all free entertainment. We had Blue Steel, a gospel bluegrass group on Thursday. We had the BU Community Band, which was very well received and did a very nice job on Friday evening, followed by a classic rock group called the Rocks Band, appropriately. And then Saturday evening we had Corey Hager with the a country music star. All these were West Virginia-based groups as well. And then we, if you didn't see our 10-foot tall, custom decorated Charm City cake, and I know you were there and several of you I saw there, was pretty interesting. We had a lot of folks want photo ops with the cake. We did all of our awards recognition and that kind of presentation in front of the cake, so it went really well. In addition, we also paid and distributed, offered 1,000 sugar cookies with our logo on it to all the kids, adults, or whoever wanted them during the time. Rather than me go on and tell you how great I think it was, I mean, really, I think the people need to tell you that. So that's why the next 2 or 3 pages of your information here, it's not a quiz there, Rob. These are just some of the comments that we had gotten in the feedback we got from the different, and I tried to do a random sampling. There was a lot more, but there were teams, there were judges. A nice thing to say, you know, a guy from Connecticut saying, you know, you made the drive from Connecticut worthwhile, see you next year. He'd never been here before. We had a team from New Hampshire too. Thought it was really interesting on the first page towards the bottom that Giovanni's, a restaurant in Weston, of all things, wrote a wonderful thing about how happy they are that we bring the event to Buckhannon, which packs their restaurant every single year despite it being in Buckhannon. I thought that was a good thing. The bottom one, Luke Darnell commented, we did something different. We also did a window display thing this year. And we had 8 or 10 that signed up for it. It was completely free for the businesses, but we gave them money, which we haven't done yet because we have teams and judges that I'm still waiting. They couldn't get around to do it while they were here, so they got pictures and they're making their judgment. We didn't have anything to do with judging the windows because we didn't want someone to say, well, you'd like to go there? Yeah. So we'll take that out. But it was really nice to see some of the, several of the downtown businesses, even off Main Street, actually put in really nice window displays. Some were fun and whimsical. Sherry Bowie had a great time doing those. We really appreciated seeing that. But that fellow particularly mentioned, he said, I love seeing the window displays, the local coverage. It's how a barbecue contest should be done. You know, another one from Ohio, had never been here before, said, you know, he was so glad he's coming back. It was nice to see those. One fella came from Griffin, Georgia. He's been here before, 2-3 years ago, I guess it was. But it was nice. He went to a contest in southern West Virginia, brought his rig over, and I met him on Monday. He stayed in the trailer court over here all week. And if you watched Facebook, you might have seen he did a wonderful video of downtown. And I mean, he went through storefronts and he went through all, as well as barbecue, and he highlighted a lot of restaurants and businesses. I think Katie, you probably saw that one, didn't you? Mm-hmm. A really nice little video he did of town and talking about what a warm welcome they had and the hospitality in Buckhannon in West Virginia. And he was from Georgia, so I thought that was a nice one. The one from Michigan, at the very bottom of the second page, he'd never been here before, but he was excited about it in talking about the great cooks that they know who the competitors are, and they know that they had some really tough competition, and he's planning on coming back. And JB, there's a shout out in here for you. It says a big shout out to the Buckhannon Fire Department for spending time with our boys from one of the barbecue teams. I don't know what they did, but I don't know what they did.
Drive the fire truck.
Oh, well, they're the ones that came rolling down through the barricades. I'm about to. But anyway, yeah, there you go. I'll have to find out what that was, but he did a shout out to you guys. But there was just a lot of really good comments, and I figured better than, you know, Jody talking about let the people that came and enjoyed speak for itself. So if you have any comments or questions, I'll be glad to answer any. We appreciate again your support, and hopefully that'll continue and move on to bigger and better things. We already have plans underway for next year.
This Professor Smoke from Connecticut, that's the town I grew up in. Believe it or not.
Seriously? How neat. Real nice
It's
guy.
as small as Buckhannon. I mean, it's not like it's a huge, very small.
And he's been here once before.
Yeah, I talked to him last year. Yeah. Just when I saw this, I didn't know.
Wayne Durr. Yeah, that's him. Any comments, questions, thoughts?
Any questions or comments from council?
I had a great time.
Thank you.
It's
Good seeing it.
good to see the tough competition is there, and we've got multiple
folks that are saying that they're going to return, and that's the whole point.
That's what it is. And when you have someone that comes in and stays a week, and we've had some others come in and do that a little bit, but not as long. But he stayed over here, and he was all over town. He has a Segway he rides, and he was doing videos and all kinds of stuff. So that's what we want to do. It's bringing tax dollars here, and hopefully it rolls over to the conference for other things.
We appreciate all the hard work you all do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How can I see that video?
I think I got to be barbecued out by the time Saturday came. Went Thursday dinner, Friday lunch, Friday dinner. All right, thank you, Jody. Okay, Jen, you're up.
Great. I'm literally just here for questions to ensure that if you have any lingering doubts, thoughts, feelings you want to express, that's what I'm here for.
I just wanted to, is there any more confirmation on what the plan would be with the number of folks each year?
Yeah, good question. So right now we have one student already from Community Care that has not only applied, has been interviewed, has been accepted, and is going to enroll. So we already have the first one on the books, and we're looking at least 2 to 3 more in that Community Care group, but I'll tell you, several of them just said, let's wait and see what the city does, because they were really interested in being able to use not only the city's funding for it, but absolutely their own funding in their professional development as well.
We do want to clarify, just for the media presence sake, the funding that is going to West Virginia Wesleyan College for this project, for this scholarship, for this program, is earmarked money. It is not general fund money that the council has elected to invest with Wesleyan. The opioid settlement funds that are coming into municipalities and counties across West Virginia are specifically earmarked toward helping communities to manage and to recover from significant abuse of opioid, the epidemic that has been poured into these communities across West Virginia. This money has come to the city of Buckhannon. We anticipate to receive more money coming to the city of Buckhannon, but it has to be used for something like this. It cannot be used to improve a park. It cannot be used to pave a street. It cannot be used to build a water plant. It is specific. It is separate. It is not general fund money. It is not an enterprise board set of funds. Just wanted to make sure that that is clarified so that anyone watching, anyone reading, understands that no, the city is not trying to elevate water rates so we can give all of our money to West Virginia Wesleyan College for this program. It is specific. It has been laid out for this, and so that just wanted to make sure that that's understood.
It's really well said, Robbie. Can I add just one piece
Sure.
to that? I would say that you've got to spend it,
Yes.
too. Like, there is going to be pressure very soon, if you haven't already received some of this unofficially already, from not just the West Virginia First Foundation, but really some of the judges that are overseeing these funds as they get distributed.
Right.
They're going to take a really hard look, folks, at municipalities that are spending it, how they're spending it, and really, really looking at folks that aren't spending anything. So I think folks that are going to be in a really hard pinch as we get ready to re-up for this next cycle of funds that are supposed to be distributed are those that have kind of hemmed and hawed a little too long and haven't spent any of it. They could really see either drastic reductions or just not having funding in the second cycle until they can prove that they have a plan for how they're going to use these towards, like you said, specifically toward opioid abatement.
We would liken this something similar to the COVID funds that came into communities across West Virginia. Those were specifically aimed toward infrastructure improvement projects with the city, which the city of Buckhannon went through the proper process. Jay, Amby, Potesta and Associates, we allocated those funds toward water and sewer project updates throughout our city. So we used those the correct way. But we saw here in our community where those funds weren't used properly, and that entity got in a lot of big trouble. So we have to be, you're exactly right, we have to be very careful with these funds. We are investing them into a proactive approach with Wesleyan. So that's our plan, that's our goal, And so that's how we plan to proceed. So thank you for the partnership, and I know we've got a lot more discussions ahead that don't necessarily need to take place in a public forum like this, but to get this off the ground and get rolling. But does anybody have any questions for Jen while she's here right now, in addition to Scott's question?
And I do want to note Ryan Thorne is also joining us
Okay.
via Zoom as well, if we have questions for you.
And we've given you a 2-year commitment, is that correct? 50,000 per year?
That's right.
Because the headline, and I think my Buckhannon said $100,000. I think people need to understand it's for a 2-year program.
Correct.
There are a lot of folks that just read captions, and I think that needs to be clarified.
That's well said.
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all.
Have a happy 4th of July.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Reese, you don't have anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Switched up the order a little bit on the agenda tonight. We have first up City Attorney Tom O'Neill, who's joining us, I believe, on the phone this evening.
I am.
We have
Thank
him
you, Mayor.
First, we thought that would be good with Ordinance 473, quickly following that public hearing. So, Mr. O'Neill, I will defer to you.
I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Council has before it ordinance number 473 of the City of Buckhannon, an ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 244 of the City of Buckhannon by rezoning certain properties from R1 Single Family Residential District to C2 Highway Commercial District. This is the third of 3 readings. These are properties, as we've discussed previously, on South Canal Street, on Putnam Street, and on Morning Drive, kind of the second row back from Route 20 south of lots.
Are there any questions for Mr. O'Neill? This ordinance has not changed. This is now the third and final reading. Once again, we will note that no one was present for the public hearing to speak either for or against this ordinance. So at this time, I would ask for your motion to approve Ordinance 473, amending the zoning ordinance 244 on its third and final reading this evening.
So move.
A motion by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zuliani. Any further discussion? Hearing the need for none, I will call that question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. O'Neill, thank you for your work on that ordinance.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have any, Ryan Thorne is still on the phone joining us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have any thoughts or any comments about the West Virginia Wesleyan College Addiction Counseling Program from your desk, Mr. O'Neill?
Well, I think it's certainly ripe for consideration by the council. It's properly on the agenda and ready for a motion. By way of just to kind of restate the details of the program as has been discussed previously, Upshur County residents working in an Upshur County facility, and again, this is a graduate certificate program. So these are people that already have master's degrees that are eligible for this program. 4,500 again for Upshur County residents working in a facility in Upshur County. 3,500 if they are a non-Upshur County resident working in a facility in Upshur County. This is again on top of Community Care's commitment for $2,000 for each of its own employees of the program, and Wesleyan's stated commitment to reduce the tuition for the program for scholarship recipients by 15%. This is a $50,000 appropriation for the 25-26 academic year and a $50,000 appropriation for the 26-27 academic year. Ordinarily, councils cannot bind future councils, and a future council takes office on July 1st of 2026, so I recommend that the second $50,000 disbursement take place in late June of next year to avoid budget issues, but we can work that out through Andy, and I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
So is the official action tonight to go ahead and allocate that first round of funding?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Tom, is it to allocate the entire amount of 100,000?
It's to commit the amount of 100,000 and then disperse it on a, whatever schedule that Andy would work out with. I'm sorry?
Yes, okay, thank you. Just clarify that.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments relative to this discussion? Hearing the need for none, I will ask for a motion for the council of the city of Buckhannon to allocate $100,000 total, splitting that $100,000 sum over the course of 2 years at $50,000 apiece to West Virginia Wesleyan College for the addiction counseling program using our opioid funds from the lawsuit settlement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Jack, second by Randy. Any further discussion?
I'll abstain.
Hearing the need for none, I will call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries, noting Mr. Scott Randall's abstention. Jen Randall is his sister. All right. Mr. O'Neill, do you have anything else for us under your report this evening?
Nothing for tonight. Actually, I noticed that Chief Kimball is there. He has asked me a question. I have an answer due to him, and I will get him. I just wanted to overhear that I'll get him that answer tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have our financial report with Mrs. Amberly Jenkins. How are you this evening? Did you survive the crossover? The stroke of midnight comes on June 30th, and
I'm tired.
It turned into a pumpkin.
I think I turned into the toad. But, so I'm going to give you for the financial report for June, how we ended our year, and I'm on down here in the budget. We've got a resolution and a revision for the new budget because of how we came over from the old budget. General fund money market and checking, we ended the year at $1,453,000. We have a CD at $89,000. Historic landmark savings at $3,000. Coal tax at $40,512. Municipal stabilization at $970,000. Flood control at $78,000. Consolidated Public Works Board $203,000, and there's a cemetery CD of $241,000. Sales tax is at $1,331,000. American Rescue Plan, we've got that almost all spent, $48,840. And the opioid account we were just talking about is at $151,773. The expenditures for June were $866,000, and the revenues were $955,000. So we came out 89 to the good with the month of June. I want to point out a few of the bills we paid. You have an entire list in there, but the ones I want to point out to you. Larry Gregory, the final payment for the fireworks that we're going to have tomorrow night, $5,000. David Howe, again, auditors are now working on our audit for 6/30/25. So it was a progress billing of $4,092. Tyler Technologies Encode Software, yearly maintenance, $11,581. JF Allen Paving, Lincoln, Maple, Randolph, and Railroad, $113,475. Sislac Truck Repair, labor, parts and labor for the street department vehicle, for $4,800. RDR Energy Concrete for Island Avenue, Pocahontas Street sidewalks, $4,100. Appalachian Equipment excavator rental, $2,000. Appalachian Equipment purchase of an excavator, $47,700. Ben Arisman, $4,200 for mowing city lots for 2 weeks. And then Trade Works for curbs on Pocahontas Street, $20,003. That's that part of the report.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Andy? I entertain a motion that we approve we approve the payment of our bills.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, second by Rob. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries. Okay, keep on going down. Now we're looking at the loan renewal approval.
Okay, for the concrete truck, we have to renew the loans. We are a municipality, we have to renew them every year. This one is with First Community Bank. The concrete truck will actually be paid off next year, so we won't have to go through this exercise again. But until then, we need to, you need to authorize that you do want to renew it. And then the second part of that is that you authorize me to sign the renewal for that loan. So it's B and C.
I will note that this loan is in existence and long predates me as a loan officer at First Community Bank. And as Amby noted, it will be paid off next year. It's been renewed every year that we've had it, which is a requirement. So I'd entertain a motion that we approve the loan renewal with First Community Bank for the concrete mixer.
So moved.
Motion by Randy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rob. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. I'd also entertain a motion that we approve Amby Jenkins as the signatory for the loan renewal for the concrete mixer.
So
Second.
Everybody wants it. Let's go Scott and Thomas. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like sign opposed, motion carries. All right. Now we go down to some budget revisions.
Yes. So this is the first budget revision for general fund, and then you'll have poll tax on the agenda as well. This is required. We have to have these budget revisions recognizing what we actually came into the new year with compared to what we estimated we'd come into the new year with. So we have to get those revisions done now, per state auditor's office. So when we worked on the budget back in March, we estimated that we'd come into the new year with general fund balance on hand at $750,000. We actually came in with 1 million, as I just reported, 453 in money market and checking, and then we have this CD out there at $89,000. That total is $1,542,581. So less the 750 that we already built the budget on, that leaves 792,581 to reallocate within this budget. Another thing that we need to do that also enhances this budget a bit, you'll recall the Stockton Youth Center has donations and fundraisers over the past several years for the youth center project. Some of the donors have asked for refunds of that, and we've taken care of that in the previous fiscal year. So now we're into a new year. I didn't have a line item allocated like I did last year for renewal, because we were going to pay on projects. So we were doing the refunds out of that project line item. So this year, that money was completely restricted. It couldn't be used for anything but what it was intended for. So the remaining funds there are $307,708. So I have to bring that over as restricted funds, as like another kind of balance on hand, but it's very restricted. It was already restricted within our budget. And then I have to insert a line item down at the bottom to expense that. So you're going to see an income of $307,708, and down in the bottom of this revision, you're going to see an expenditure of $307,708. So that leaves the total amount that I have to work with is $1,100,289. So we'll start with where we're recommending this, how these be allocated. Expenses. So under expenses, we had a pay increase for the code enforcement officer, and that was not accounted for prior to the budget that was approved. So when he got his pay increase, I had to go back and readjust those wages, plus some benefits, which is good we did, because we had a couple things in error there. So it's about $11,000 of that. He didn't get an $11,000 pay increase. It was some other issues in that same line items for zoning. Under data processing, we hadn't selected a new IT firm at the time, so we are adding $21,000 in the data processing line item to take care of that. One recommendation that, this is a question to council, if they want to accept this, is to transfer that $89,167 that we have in a CD to municipal stabilization. So that would take that municipal stabilization over $1 million. You can take up to 30% of municipal of your budget can be municipal stabilization. Under street projects, I'm going to circle back to that other line item, but under street projects, when we developed the budget at the time, we were told by the street department $165,000 would be the bare minimum for some projects they already had in mind. So that being said, we have projects that we can do, so we recommended putting $100,000 more in that line item to make it a total of $265,000. Under street paving, we, in the original budget, put in $200,000. Ethan asked for another $200,000. So a total of $400,000 in paving for the new year. So that's built into the budget. Probably getting the cart ahead of the horse here because we've got something down in the line item for revenue review. But the airport had asked for $40,000 in anticipation that I think that would be approved because that is a recommendation from revenue review to give them an additional $20,000 for a total of $40,000 to the airport. I put that in the budget too. And then like I noted before, the 307 washes out the 307 at the top. That leaves $351,000 to go towards other things that you so choose. So I put that in council contingencies. The notes I have to say with that, just a heads up on it, the council's well aware of it, but just as a reminder. First of all, I want to say why we came into the year with so much money. We've been pretty careful with our money for once, but we also had contractors B&O. I think I mentioned that before. We collected from a large project more money, and we adjusted the budget to take care of that, but we still ended up collecting more money, about $38,000 more than we budgeted. Property taxes, we collected $54,000 more than budgeted. Building permits, $31,000 more than we budgeted. After school fees, that was quite a bit more than we budgeted. It was close to $100,000. And then there was some fiber installation right-of-ways, $21,000. We also had and under expenditures, we had a contingency in there of 105. We didn't expend. Paving. Due to the weather, we were paving right up to basically June 30th, but there was $102,000 left on the table there. Fire salaries, you know, they had a firefighter leave them in January, and so that left. That's part, all of these are contributing to this. $59,000 was left in fire salaries. Then we had tire capital, $93,000. We've been waiting and waiting for the apparatus to arrive, and it's not here yet, so we hope to get it this month. I hope we do too. Police salaries, $59,000. Matt last year, he dealt with an officer leaving in January 24, 2 officers left in November. One of those that left came back in March. Then we replaced one of them in April. And so that left some gaps of paying a full staff. So $59,000 there. And then CAC salaries, the full-time person left in August, and we have been paying a part-time person and just increased their wages because they're doing an excellent job. So we had some left on the table there. So that's why we ended up with what we did, and you should be proud of yourselves, in my opinion. So we'll see
Just,
see.
just to be clear, so the 351 you have for council contingency, that 105 from last budget is part of that, correct?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes, well, we don't roll that over typically, but in this case, you could, in essence, say yes, we've done that.
Okay.
Remind you that JB has an apparatus that, to refurbish, just so you know this too. And he's getting quotes back on that. The first quote he's got on that is $371,000. We also need an AC unit at the theater. We're kind of trying to hold off because the seats are paid off next year, but it's been causing us more issues. That may be something you have to address. The unit that's up there was the original unit when the building was a bar. That one unit in the main hall is the only original unit, and it's beginning to cause us issues. And there's something else I needed to do. I don't know what it was. That's about it, that's. Oh, Strawberry Festival. We did not put anything in there for them because they're always late and turning in their 26 years, so I don't know if you want that allocated in here, or if you want to wait, or if you want them to put in the report and then us allocate.
So I'm sitting here thinking about the best way forward because this is a little unusual that we have this much in contingency.
We had to cut our budget 2 years ago.
Yeah. So we're seeing the fruits of that labor a little bit, especially, you can't guarantee, we never know when more contractor B&O is going to come in. We never know when the ad valorem is going to be increased. We never know that what people are planning as far as projects for building permits and whatnot. So, yes, our budget got a little smaller, but then we've seen more revenue because of just projects being done around the city. So I'm wondering if it either makes sense to do one of two things. One, should we hold a special meeting and call it a budget session, like what we do in February, but have a session where we have one line item on the agenda, and that is just to look at where we could, what projects need done, what do we want to see take place, or do we take it to the Revenue and Expense Review Committee and have council submit ideas and project requests to that, and then bring it back to city council for consideration. I'm thinking about what's the best way forward here that's the most streamlined.
Yeah, you can do that, but you'll have to approve a budget tonight with that contingency that you.
No, I understand that. I'm thinking ahead of, because just letting it sit in contingency, that doesn't do the community really any good. What does that look like as far as physical improvements to the city?
I think both of the decisions are good.
I like the idea of the council meeting, having a budget discussion. And that way, you've got, full council has an opportunity to discuss it. And just direct it. It's not a two-step process then.
Right.
Yeah, if it goes to the Finance Revenue Committee, it's going to bounce back to City Council for approval
It will,
anyways.
right.
So I'd say a special meeting with City Council. I agree wholeheartedly with my compatriot over there. It's hard to say. I do agree with Reed.
Tough saying.
Okay.
That's why the marriage between us.
And I agree with that too. I think because there's not a specific request on the table for this, that's what we use Revenue and Expense Review Committee for. This is really almost the same as our general fund budget discussions that take place in February. So let's put a date on the calendar as to when we can have a special meeting. That way we can have an agenda out in an appropriate time frame, because it will be a public meeting.
So it's like a budget working session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At which the council has the ability to take action at that time, because it is a public meeting and there will be an agenda, or it can make a recommendation to the next council meeting.
Just to be clear, what we're looking at that contingency amount. Everything else, unless we decide, like tonight, we're looking at putting $200,000 more in paving. Could that change?
No, you can add more. I mean, if you want to change it, you need to change it now so Ethan will know what to do.
I understand, so the amount that we would be meeting about would be
Contingency.
The contingency.
the 351,000.
Right.
Okay, right. That's good.
They have, and you have to by law make revisions to use that money, so that's,
Right.
Yeah.
that's perfectly sound.
And just for a little clarification on street department projects and street paving, does the line item say that was paving was included in some of the street department project line item too? Or
No, paving is paving.
it's separate?
It's probably just kind of skewed because I had to
Okay.
wrap the text.
Okay.
But
And
no,
that's good.
projects are like sidewalks, or anything else. But
Beautification, trees, things like that.
The note over to the right just kind of threw me off a little because it's a bare minimum 165 million.
that's for the projects.
That's for the paving.
Yeah,
So-
the paving total is 400,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And this goes back to what Mayor Skinner said earlier this year, but, you know, we work on the budget and then the street department kind of gets what's left over. You know, because it's not a designated stream of income for it. So this gives us opportunity to go back. As you heard him say, Brad said that the bare minimum was the 165 to get through the project that we keep directing them to do. We're looking at them and kind of getting them to do.
Well, they're a little different too. I mean, they're more fluid than,
Right.
you know what the police department's doing, you know what the fire department's doing. Street department projects, they could have a $50,000 project that'll fit in the budget, and then they might need a $200,000 when we're gonna do that one.
Yeah.
So,
And we've got a large street project that we'll be looking at. I've met with Ethan and an outside contractor. Buckhannon Street is going to be a significant project for 2 blocks to drastically improve that area, create curbs, widen the street a little bit. Sidewalks are being worked on that street right now. So that's going to be a major improvement area of the city.
that was general fund, and it's on the agenda separately from poll tax. Poll tax is pretty simple.
Just sitting there.
He's sitting in the middle of the crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions or comments regarding what we need to do tonight, which is approve a budget revision, which is required for the first meeting of the July, of the new fiscal year. So the first meeting in July, we must perform a budget revision, which Amby has put in front of us this evening for our consideration. Are there any questions or comments relative to what you've looked at just now? Hearing none, I entertain a motion that, and this is a resolution, that we approve resolution number 2025-04, general fund budget revision number 1 of the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
So moved.
Motion by Randy, second by Jack. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries, and I will defer to Mr. Sanders for the roll call.
Mr. Skinner.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders, I know, I'll second. Mr. Sanders votes yes. Mrs. Buckley is absent. Ms. Rieger.
Yes.
Ms. Zuliani.
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
Yes.
I don't see Mr. Thomas's name on here, Amy.
Oh, you know what, I just, there was 5 lines on it, you'll be added.
Oh, that's okay.
Mr. Thomas.
I
Yes.
had to redo it.
I thought I was a little light when I looked down there. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Did I get everybody?
You'll even with it later, Amy.
Okay, so that budget revision has passed. And now the second budget revision, well, this is still budget revision number 1 under the coal tax line item, but it's resolution number 25-05.
Yes, poll tax is a whole separate fund, but we still have to do a revision for it. It follows the same rules as general fund as far as the auditor's office is concerned. Again, we estimated our balance on hand to be $1,000 because we wanted to try to spend as much money for projects as we could. Again, I think some of the weather kind of hindered some of this from getting accomplished. So we ended up with $40,000 513, so we need, that's a difference of 39,512 that we need to add to the new budget. There's one line item, it's poll tax is basically designated for street department use. So 39,512 in that budget, it already had 16,000, makes a total of 55,512 for that line item in poll tax.
Okay. And so that could be discussed as well
Yes.
at the meeting that we have. So
Yes.
in addition to the 351, we've got around 400,000, a little over $400,000 that we could allocate towards into the street area. Of that, 55 has to be.
50, yeah, that's right. You can do whatever you want to, the other.
Okay. Very straightforward. Is there a motion to approve the resolution 25-05 relative to the coal tax budget revision?
So
Motion by Thomas, second by Zuliani. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. It is a resolution, so we will go through a roll call again.
Mr. Skinner.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders votes yes. Mrs. Buckley is absent. Mr. Rigger.
Yes.
Mr. Zuliani.
Yes.
Mr. Randall.
Yes.
And Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else for Amby before we let her retire for the evening? Amby, thank you, and Barb and everybody out front who has worked on keeping the lights on for us through the changeover. We know it is a stressful time of year. We end our fiscal year and begin a new one, so thank you for all your work.
Yep, our office does not take any leave on the last week of June, just for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is our Director of Public Works, Mr. Ethan Preston.
Good evening. So, street department, we've been working on trimming some alleys and getting some of those with some asphalt millings on those, working on keeping those where you can get through. We are getting closer to the completion of the Island Avenue sidewalk project. It's been a long time coming, so we're keeping that crew on until it's done, so hopefully that'll be done within the next couple, 3-4 weeks. And then we're also continuing to work on the Buckhannon Street sidewalks. Every time we think we're about done, another resident requests some more sidewalks to be done, so while we're there, we're gonna get what we can done. And then another project that's taken a little bit of time was completed. We hung the gates today at City Park.
They look really nice.
Yeah, they did a good job. They fabricated those and put together, or put the paneling on it and made those in-house. So that was the last thing that we had to do for that project. So everything's done there, backfilling, painting, nets, gates, fence, it's all completed. So the waste department, we received some positive results for our second quarter testing for our new permit. That was this is the first set of tests, so that was a good thing, keep the DEP happy. And we also opened bids for a new mechanic truck, and they accepted those bids this morning at waste board meeting for the waste department. And sewer, we're getting close to the completion of the Island Avenue pump station. We've sent out invoices for the CMH development along Vicksburg Road. That was the project that we've been on since early spring for the development of 21 lots. We finished that up, and we again worked on a small project on College Avenue in between there and Tucker Street. And are also beginning a fairly major upgrade on Chestnut Street for the sewer area that we've had a lot of issues with. And we also received our 619-page evaluation from Testadac for the plant. We began reviewing it, but it's taking some time because it's 619 pages. So water also invoiced for the CMH project. That is part of large portion of these invoices will be refunded as houses are added per the PSC. And we moved to swap, or they're moving along on the Meat Street upgrade to swap the services there, and continuing to work with the consultants on the water treatment project. Zoning and code enforcement issued one citation for accessory to structure, 4 citations for appearance of lot, and are working on pool adjustments, permits, and height variance. Then engineering, I'll briefly touch on since Jay's here. I'll let him handle most of it, but
No, I think he wants you to read every word. He wants to hear it.
I can if you all want. For the Charles Gibson Library, the project meeting was held on June 25th with the board to discuss the task order with Testa and the Mills Group to discuss how the renovation new addition will be going. They're proceeding with that process. The TAP program for Morton Avenue lighting project is on the agenda for later. I will let Jay go into more detail about that one. And the West Main Street, North Locust Street sidewalk and lighting project is on there for later. The Water Department commercial real estate appraisal bid, the notice of award and notice to proceed for the commercial appraisals were provided to Vandalia Real Estate out of Huntington, I believe. And those appraisals shall be completed by July 28th for the bidding documents. For FEMA and the West Virginia Emergency Management Division, we're looking at some grant applications for the Taylor Street storm sewer that would allow construction from the Buckhannon River down by Wood Street to Route 20. It's approximately 2,000 feet of 24 and 54 inch diameter HDPE form pipe. It's got some board tracks under the railroad. It is a very complex project and highly expensive project, so hopefully we can get some money to help with that. The only thing that I'll mention about the TAP applications that is relevant to any of these reports, some of those projects require, well, not some of them, they require funding. So we can use some of that additional 100,000 street projects towards that funding for the match. It's 20% match and the 20% matches. So that's something that I would be suggesting to the contingency fund whenever we get to that. But I think that's all I have, and we'll let Jay read the rest of it.
Okay. Any questions for Ethan?
So you're here tonight to tell us the city park renovations are complete.
Yeah, it's complete.
Okay.
I know.
There you go.
Sigh of relief.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Let's, while we're on all these subjects, if Jay wants to go ahead and we can talk about Morton Avenue and Route 20 North.
Well, with all the budget revisions and everything that's going on, and that's partly why I needed to bring that to you all, because the second phase of the applications for both of the TAP projects are due July 23rd, and I just want to make you all aware of it to see if you all wanted to proceed with this. It would be for the construction of these two projects. We'll start with, it's the last 2 pages of your packet. It was nice and fortunate that you can look at them. It's the last 2 pages. We'll talk about the North Locust Street project first, and that would create a sidewalk and lighting project similar to all of our gateways. This is called Gateway North, and it would take us from the Crossroads intersection, which is Walmart, up along the western side of US Route 20 to the Lowe's, the southernmost or the first Lowe's entrance. The estimated cost of that project is $728,195. And because it's an 80-20 split, the city would be responsible for $145,639. It's a little tricky. I've got some site meetings scheduled with Charleston and Weston engineering departments because we have to cross the exit and on ramps at the Main Street, the 2nd or the Philippi exit. But that's what we're looking at, and I bring this again to your attention because I need to know when you all have your special budget meeting, if you all want to pursue this application any further, because it's the costly one. It's the $145,000. I don't think that we would have to have, and this is where Andy can chime in, I don't expect a decision until December or January on these projects, so we're halfway through the year.
Jay, that's going to be a 2-year project, isn't it?
Yes.
So it'll flow in, you half and half probably.
Right. So, and again, it's just a timing thing, but I just don't know. because the second part, the next 2 weeks, is going to take some effort on my time if that's what you all choose to do. But that's the North Locust Street exit, the nice and easy one. And of course, these, just as we've done with the last gateway projects, the street department, depending on their schedule, and I'll defer to Ethan and Bradley, if they can, schedule those projects within the next 2 years. Because once we get ready to proceed from the state, we do have 2 years to complete the project. The West Main Street, North Locust Street project, or what we like to refer to as the mural wall project, it's just a small one. It's 200 feet in length, and it's just a construction of sidewalks, 3 street lights, and a landscaping or greenscape feature that the DOH in Weston would love to see, because they do not like that 200-foot open area from the stoplight to Huffman Lane. This has been on the books for a while, but when we had our site meeting a couple years ago, they said, oh, finally. But we need to make sure that that's what, and Ethan's checking with community care if they're still on board, because the previous property owner was all on board, which was Davis Health. They were all for this project. We have not had a chance to speak with community care, and I'm going to have to ask Ethan to see if he can schedule a meeting with the 2 of us and community care within the next week and a half, so that we can determine if they're still on board. But it would create a raised curb so that the only point of entrance and exit would be at the Huffman Lane, which is what the DOH would really like to see, because, and it's designed, I've done all the turning movements and everything, the garbage trucks can back in there, the box trailers for supplies can back in there, load, turn around through the parking lot. But the sketch on it is the very last page. And it just shows you some schematics and, excuse me, what we were thinking that Dixie could do with some low-growing shrubs and trees. The color version is in your all's electronic packet, but it didn't show up very well on, the black and white. But the cost of this project is $129,000. I couldn't get rid of those $2, Randy. $129,200, of which the city would be responsible for $25,800.40. And again, we would have 2 years to complete that project. So it's not nearly as big. If I was going to ask for one, that would be the easy, low-hanging fruit, so that until you all can decide what's going on with the budget now. But just be aware of the fact that if both of them are approved, or if you all at your next city council meeting decide to submit on only one or both of them, that is totally up to you, and it does not matter to me. We will have 2 years when they drop the flag.
To me, this is the no-brainer, just simply because it's visible, and 2, it's a larger safety hazard than people realize. When you are driving south on Locust Street and people get into that left-hand turn lane and they want to go to community care, they just whip in at any given space within that open channel. And if you're walking from Mama Roma's, if you're walking out of community care, I've seen people almost get hit by just people whipping into that parking lot. This would close that off, and you have to enter through Huffman Lane.
Yes.
To me, this is it's less expensive, it's more visible, and it's a safety issue. To me, that's the no-brainer.
How important is the first project for us?
Well, that was on, I was asked to design that, come up with a couple options for that when Jerry was still here. And so, I've just worked into it. As the mayor knows and as Ethan knows, we were going to go out Morton Avenue first. We've encountered some issues with one of the property owners. So the DOH, and it's still Gateway North, Dave, but that was going to be the first phase from Route 20 to First Street along Morton Avenue to allow a nice, easy connector. And the phase that I'm presenting to you all tonight was the second phase, but the DOH said, well, maybe once this project happens, the phase that I'm talking about now, then the property owner may change their mind and allow us to proceed through a small portion of their property along Morton Avenue. But that, I don't know where it came, Amby, can you offer anything
I
up
think
on
it has
that?
to do a lot with the aesthetics of when you come into town, you come into this beautiful town and the gateway into it is not.
Yeah, because there's nothing there, Dave, now except for a very short sidewalk from
People walk out that way.
number 1 Autos across the bridge to the former Dairy Queen site at Morton Avenue. That's the only sidewalk that exists. And so that's where we are. But in total, you know, it would be I have it here, we can add those 2 numbers, but since I have it, if we submitted both projects and they were both approved, we're looking at $171,439 commitment. But with everything that was said tonight, I'm going, So I'll leave that all up to you, but I just need to know if you want to pursue the one, as the mayor said, seems like a no-brainer, if you want to do both of them, because they are both due June 23rd, and since I didn't put it as an actionable item, it was just for information tonight, and it ties in very nicely with your all's special budget meeting, as long as it's before the 23rd.
23rd.
July.
July 23rd.
Any thoughts or comments from members of City Council on these projects?
I'm all for the smaller, just with the fact that it is Route 20. You're focusing everything on, what is it? Starts with a name. Forgot the.
Huffman Lane.
You're focusing everything there to Huffman. I would just like to make sure that it's wide enough.
I think that this will drastically improve the aesthetics coming into, and it will be visible from both the Main Street exit approach to downtown as well as from the Locust Street approach into downtown as well.
While you're there, if we could swing back to Ethan's report under engineering.
Yep.
The FEMA,
That's where I am.
okay, West Virginia EMD Taylor Street Storm Sewer Grant application.
Yes.
I don't know that all of council is familiar. I don't want to go down a big rabbit hole here, you know, but with the problems we've had over there, and is this something that looks possible, feasible?
Well, you know, FEMA, my project manager for the generators called and said, hey, Jay, there's some project money out there for stormwater. There's going to be multiple municipalities and counties probably applying for it, but a project 2 years ago was funded in its entirety for just under $4 million. The bad part about this is that we've all read about Mr. Trump's policy and feelings towards FEMA. In the past, because we were a distressed county and a low-income county, we could be anticipated to contribute anywhere from 0 to 10%. It was 0 on the generators, and then a Tennerton booster station was a 10% match. However, he had indicated that as the current state of economy is today, we would probably want to plan for the full 25% non-federal share matching, which is $1.05 million. If this goes out to a contractor, they're going to have that done within a year and a half, so we would have to have that $1 million set aside and readily available. Ethan can chime in, but I don't know if we have the equipment to handle some of the larger stuff. So he's shaking his head, so I'm anticipating this is going out, Randy. But I have until November to get this one in, and that's currently what I was working on, because this week, after I was working on the 2 TAP programs for the last 3 applications, this week has been solely devoted towards this, because I want to have a good handle on this so that I can present it to the sanitary board meeting in 2 weeks.
But there's still other options that are less expensive.
Yes, this is the worst case.
Right.
This is a contractor doing it all, you know, but as we had from the February flooding events, we've come up with some solutions. You know, we're looking at a $2 million project, just under a $2 million project. If we go halfway, that still doesn't get us under the railroad track. Right, Ethan?
Yeah, that includes.
Oh, you included the, in your preliminary estimate? So we could do half of the project for 2. Most of that we could do in-house, but I don't know if you want to go for funding for that. I can phase this application, you know, do the lower half first, the upper half, when I'm saying, and the Camden Avenue being the separator from the river to Camden would be the lower half, which is what we had proposed anyway. And then, maybe a couple years down the road or next year, apply for the upper half, which is from Camden to Route 20. There's multiple ways to do it, but I'm filling out the worst case, which is everything, and then I can just hit delete and drop items as they're chosen.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Question.
Sure, Dennis.
Can we go back to the Huffman Lane for a moment? I'm a little confused. Is Huffman Lane that alley between community care and a medical building?
Yes.
It connects North Kanawha Street to North Locust Street, yes.
Okay, my question is Huffman Lane big enough to handle two-way traffic?
It's one way. It will always be one way, because when it exits onto North Kanawha Street, the passage is only one car wide.
Right.
So unless we tear buildings down, which that's not happening, the street will always be a one-way.
I'm also thinking of the big van that comes in there for cancer testing. It parks in there in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be able to handle that too? With the new configuration?
Is it a box trailer? Is it a single axle box trailer?
No, sir.
No, the tractor.
It's a tractor trailer.
The generator.
Bonnie's bus.
Yes, that's it.
Bonnie's bus.
Bonnie's
Is
bus.
this moved from the hospital, or is there?
It's there periodically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're using that large, that have not accounted for a, Bonnie's bus trailer. I mean, it's a full-size tractor trailer.
Yes.
It fits in there now, so.
Well, yeah, but I'm assuming he uses that entire open lot. He can turn in along the 200 feet that we're going to not have there.
There are curbs on.
But, yes,
That may need to be discussed when a meeting is held with community care.
DOH and community care, because
Technically, currently, if there's nobody parked in those 8-9 spaces, you have
Yeah.
the full width.
yeah, but I can see now, I can envision that he's coming in early in the morning or whatever, Scott, and just turning left and using that entire parking lot to make his turn and get oriented, and, that won't be there. The DOH is ecstatic that it's going to be eliminated, so, and it's on their right of way, we made sure that this yeah, but we've got to make some accommodations.
That's the discussion with community care,
Right.
see if there's other options.
They have multiple sites, they have that site off, what's the next alley that we were just down, Vincent? Ethan? Seneca? It's the one by the senior center, there's that one.
Senior Lane.
Okay, senior lane, they have space there, but yeah, we'll pick that up in the meeting. That's a good
Good point,
catch,
though, yeah.
but,
Even though it's a one-way street, there shouldn't be any reason that western section of it could be wider to accommodate for that.
Can I ask something?
not on a tractor trailer.
Pass somewhere, it's gotta be parked.
What,
The
okay,
parking lot would just
the
get
street,
smaller, right?
or the artistry, and which one's that? The West Virginia's big painting on the wall there, what street's that?
Locust and Main.
Okay, and then the next one up is Kanawha.
Kanawha goes in front of the 5-story building and in front of the Elks Lodge. Yes,
Okay.
it's parallel.
Okay, when I ride my bike through there, my memory right now says if I cut through there, there's a one-way sign stuck to the wall there that says, if I go through there, I'm going the wrong way.
Right, it is
But
one,
when you get up to Vandalia, you have to go out the other way. It's one way that way, so somewhere in the middle it splits.
yeah, it does. Huffman is unique. Huffman is one way from 20 or North Locust to North Kanawha that way, but to enable Davis Health and Community Care to get into their lots. But if you were coming from North Kanawha, or which is, where the barbershop, Jimbo's and all that is, it is not, that is, you were prohibited from entering that direction.
Right.
Yeah, it's a split one-way street.
Halfway in the middle it goes different.
Yeah, but it's not
Right.
2 lanes wide. It is
Right.
still 1 lane wide.
Because that's freaked me out on
Yes.
bicycles through there from time
But
to
that
time.
was the of the traffic to Davis Health and to
Yeah, it
community care.
was to create an ability for people to release congestion through there. People could go out either way.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, well, we will get a meeting scheduled with Community Care to get their blessing on this and see if that would be an issue. But do we need to formalize anything motion-wise this evening? There are 2 line items on the agenda: the Locust Street Sidewalk and Lighting Project Grant application and the West Main Street, North Locust Street intersection sidewalk lighting grant application. As Jay noted, there are deadlines.
Those are contingent upon our discussions in the budget meetings.
Right. And Community Care. So we shouldn't take action tonight, but we do need to have an action taken before July 23rd.
Right. Right.
Perhaps we can have these on that special budget meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, that's what I was anticipating as an additional
If you
line
make
item.
sure to remind
Teresa.
Teresa when she's building that for the mayor.
Yep, because if we don't want to pursue one, I don't want
Yeah.
to, work on it any further. At this time, we can always catch it up the next time.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay.
More questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
All right, back to the Public Works Director's report. We have the report of zoning and code enforcement, approval of building and wiring permits. Would you join me in I noted. Would you join me in approving those, please, by a motion? Motion by Scott, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rob. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, noting Mr. Rager's abstention. All right. Vincent, does he want to speak to anything this evening?
No, he just
No?
came in case
Okay.
questions about.
He looks like Elvis leading the building.
That's perfectly fine.
Did everyone else leave when he left?
Okay. Up next is Fire Chief J.B. Kimball.
Mr. Thomas, I'm glad we made it dress down polo tonight. So,
Thank you, Joe.
yeah, you look good tonight.
He always picks on me,
Real quick, I want to reflect on something that happened earlier in the week. On June 30th in Idaho, an individual lit a wildland fire, which drew in the fire department, and the 2 battalion chiefs that arrived on scene first were killed immediately by him shooting them, and he shot another firefighter. This has rocked the fire service, and I get up here and speak a lot about things are different nowadays. They're different. When somebody wants to draw in a bunch of firemen and shoot them, the world's different. And I just want to say our prayers go out to the fire service in Idaho and to their families. So that being said, that's a tragedy that should never happen. So in your packet, you can look, there's activity through the month of May. We responded to 474 incidents throughout the year to date through May. And I went back over a few years just to give you a summary of where we're at. We're at 474 in 2025. In 2024, we are at 429. In 2023, we're at 447. In 2022, when we had our highest volume of call volume at the end of the year, we were at 489. So we're right in the middle there. We're up 45 calls from last year, 45 incidents. Now, over the last 2 days, we've had 15 incidents, so it's been very busy. So I want to reflect on some incidents we had in the last week or so, directly relating to flooding. We've been having some rare downpours in our communities. A couple weeks ago, Hodgeville had 4 inches of rain in a short period of time. The other night, we had, I think it was 3.5 inches of rain in like 50 minutes. And the fire department saw flooding in places we'd never seen flooding before. People were getting stuck in their cars, people were stuck over Hinkle Drive in their apartments, stuff like that. But I really want to relate on to the people in America and attest to this. I think some people go out just to see what's going on. First off, you're getting in the way of the first responders trying to get to people that are stuck in the water, which we have to get them out. And second of all, when you drive through water at the Triangle or in front of somebody's house, you create a wake. And that wake goes inside that person's house or business and does more damage. Be respectful to people. If the street's flooded, stay out of the water. you can't tell if a manhole has been flipped by the force of the water. If you're driving along and you can drive in that manhole, if you're out walking in that flood water, you could fall in that manhole and then you're gone. So just be respectful. The other night, we were out from about 1 to 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's just people out wanting to drive through water. And it just gets very irritating sometimes, and I don't see what they get out of it. So,
Well, the radio tells you not to do that.
yes. We're told to do not do a lot of stuff, and people still do it. But anyhow, moving on, fireworks tomorrow night. We'll go and when they prep the site for the fireworks, take my pictures. Since I signed the fireworks permit, I'm responsible for it. So I want to make sure the gentleman, he's a class act. He does a real good job of putting fireworks off. I just want to make sure everything's prepared and safe. So, and if you're putting fireworks off at your residence, please be respectful to your neighbors and your neighbors' dogs and stuff like that. I spoke at the firehouse the other day when we were down in Florida for my daughter's softball games. We went to a drone show, and I tell you what, if you ever want to replace a fireworks show, a drone show would be an amazing thing to see. 800 drones at one time doing stuff. It just, plus the animals aren't scared of them, so just something to think about. Air packs, as Amby spoke, tentatively they're supposed to be scheduled, our SCBAs are supposed to be scheduled to be delivered the 3rd week of this month. We do have fit testing for our face pieces next week, so every member will have their own individual face piece that's fitted for them. That's part of the NFPA standards, and that way when you go in a bad atmosphere, it's sealed to your face. It's not just a general medium, large. It's fitted for you. So, as Amby said, engine 1, we've had 2 companies come in and look at engine 1. I'm waiting on the 3rd to just make sure we're all in line with price-wise and get the best value if we can. So, I was at the Consolidated Public Works meeting the other day. We talked about instant action plans. Those have been completed, or our meetings have been completed. We met with the 4th of July group, did it, and the car show group came and we met with them. So those are very positive things. That way everybody gets on the same page. So if there is an incident at the activity, or we have to go through the activity to get to an incident, everybody knows what's going on. So just a little something I'd like to go back on. And I hate to rip a Band-Aid off. We had an incident the other night. We were dispatched to 3 Lightburn Street. I'm sorry, I didn't say Latham. And when we get there, it's not 3 Lightburn. It's like 3.5 A, whatever. And then across from that is an apartment building that's facing the same alley that has a Sedgwick Street address. So. The other day we responded to Lure Drive. One side of Lure Drive was like 30-some Lure Drive, and the left-hand side was 274. So one side of Lure Drive's in the county, the right-hand side of Lure Drive's in the city. We're running into some confusion. When we go down College Avenue, the new buildings the college has built have county addressing. So they have, like a 300 or 400 number. The right-hand side of the road has a 2-digit number. So it's just confusing, and just like the Lightburn, if the proper display is not on the place and it's not reflective, it makes it very difficult. So I'd just like for council to think about that and was looking at improving our addressing and mapping and stuff. So.
It does need done. I agree with you. It is a mess.
Yes.
It's just, and it's not just what you noted. I mean, it's just all over the place. There's
Especially with the
addresses that
alleys
just don't
and
make sense.
the half apartments and the half, it just, like you said, it's confusing. And the last thing I want to do is be confused when I'm going to somebody's emergency. Typically, somebody will look at you and say, if the house is on fire, you're going to see it. But not everything we respond to is on fire. So.
Right. And not everything's visible.
No.
So.
But that being said, I'd like to set something up sometime to discuss that as we can. And furthermore, as we're doing that, I'd like to sit and talk about the first due fire fee. I know we've all been emailing each other back and forth about the city fee and looking at spreadsheets and stuff like that. I think that's something we need to
One thing, I'll follow up on that. David, we'll get you some copies so you can have someone go through them with you, but we've provided the rest of the council with spreadsheets of the in-town, in Buckhannon, commercial buildings with square footage, using the CAD square footage that Jay provided us. And Jay put a lot of time and effort into it, the front office out there put a lot of time and effort into it. And we've been able to provide everyone with a model of 5 cents per square foot, 7 cents per square foot, 9 cents per square foot. Councilman Randall was able to catch me and the chief the other day and ask some great questions. So I'd challenge the rest of council too to do the same thing. Start compiling your questions for the mayor, for the chief. I've been working a lot on it so that we can move quicker on this thing, because we have to get the model in place, which we committed to doing, to go away from gross revenue on businesses to square footage for the property they actually own, before we can take that model and ask for it to be implemented in the county as the first due fee. So we have to get our house in order first, number one. Number two, I'll distribute, Jay and Amby worked on a series of questions that they had for the internal purposes of how to classify certain things. I'll distribute that to everybody too, so that you can give feedback to the mayor, to all of us, because those are questions that need to be answered. But we're going to have to be proactive on this. I mean, you know, it's one thing to kick that can down the road, but at times that can just stand still. You know, so the mayor's asked me to help, you know, with some of this stuff with the chief and compiling data and so forth. We're pretty well down the road on that. Yeah. So, you know, redistribute those, just ask everybody for internal discussions, and see if we can't get a little bit closer to moving from, and I said initially, I mean, I worked out of a 1,600 square foot house when I was operating my pads. My gross income was good, and if I'd have been charged on that versus the small square footage I had, I would have been like, wait a minute, this is, you know, whereas somebody else that had 100 times the square footage I had, but less gross income, because they're very small, they just happen to have a lot of square footage, that, you know, that wasn't, so I think we need to make that happen. So.
Well, I think philosophically, you're exactly right. The likelihood of having a fire or a catastrophe of any kind has really nothing to do with what the business brings in revenue-wise. Right. But the footprint, the physical footprint of the building has a lot more to do with how severe an incident could be. Yeah. So that it just takes the subjectivity completely out of it. The building square footage is the building square footage. It is absolute. It's really not up for debate or any gray area. If it's 1,600 square feet, it's 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Statistically, the first 5 years of a business, you're going to be in the negative. You're going to lose money. And you can't go off gross income.
Are you a statistic?
You better believe it.
So you're saying we'd be making?
So I just wanted to just remind council that, you know, it's better if we, you know, if do it on an individual basis to get questions answered.
I got meet meetings
and Jay can answer a lot of questions.
And I had previously got information from the county, and I had a spreadsheet of that, and for some reason there was two of the largest businesses were in it, but when I calculated the square footage and all those businesses, without the two largest, you're looking at about 2.4 million square feet out in the county. If you add those two largest businesses in, you're looking at just over 3 million square feet of commercial space outside the city limits.
That's information we need to have. Yep. We can't do a thing until we get our house in order.
Yeah, square footage is just common.
Yes.
We've got to get our house in order, and then we can move forward with that.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely.
Well, and I do want to note too that, I mean, there was a method to the madness back when the gross revenue was created. Remember, we didn't have the technology has come such a long way in giving us the ability to determine square footage. we have the GIS mapping system now that was not available.
Sure.
You know, so a lot of cities did it the way we do it. But there's a better mousetrap now. So
I sent Randy one other day where, I can't remember which city it was, but they defined like, if it was three rentals over top of business, it was commercial space. If it was less than two, they were per living unit.
Those are the questions that we've got to answer. I mean, I've got my opinion on them. You know, don't want to go down the rabbit hole now. Every council member should have their opinion on it, on how, you know, where does it trigger, where does it become a commercial piece of property versus half commercial, half residential, you know, this and that. You know, so those are the things that we just need to hammer out and keep it simple. So.
Any questions, Mayor?
I had one, Andy mentioned a quote for 371 in apparatus.
So that's engine one.
Oh, that is engine.
That's the 09 model Suffin. So when we were in budget sessions, we talked about, I mean, when you look at the 2021 model engine 11 that we bought for $540X, that truck today is 1.2 million.
Right.
So, you know, as you go down the road, since engine one's still in decent shape, you know, and it's got 15, 16 years of wear on it, you know, there's things that we need, you know, radiator needs painted, needs new seats, the seats are just shot in it, you know, but it doesn't need pulled off the frame and a new chassis put under. So you're looking, and when we were in budget sessions, I estimated about $400,000 for that. So that's just one estimate. We're still waiting. That was a Pierce company. We're still waiting on Suffin and SVI to give us estimates also.
Nice. You just said apparatus, I wasn't tying attention
Yes.
Thank you.
Questions, sir?
Question, going back to Idaho. If this would become a trend, would protective vests for the fire department?
So at this point in time right now, every fire we respond, like a little bit ago, we had a fire at Burger King, and the city police officers respond to that. They're dispatched automatically. They're dispatched automatically in the county. Now, after midnight, law enforcement is not as available out in the county to respond, you know, because they may be in Rock Cave and we're out here. And I think that's just something we've always taken for granted, that, you know, nobody's going to shoot us. But in today's world, that happens, you know, people get beat, people get shot, people get ran over. It's a different world. And
that's the first time I can remember this happening.
now, it happened in Florida 7 months ago.
It did?
Yeah. So the firefighters didn't get killed, but it happened in 2024, and 2 firemen got killed. Yeah, and so, I mean, it's not, I mean, God forbid.
Well, yesterday in Chicago, 18 people got
Yeah.
shot.
It's
crazy.
And I don't know what the results of the individual doing it, what was the purpose of it. I don't know if he had run in with the fire department. I don't know if he wanted to be a fireman and denied.
He was killed, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he did, yes.
And my question is, protective vest for our
Put
guys.
those bulletproof vests under your other gear.
Not that you don't need any more weight or heat. That's the question.
I can't answer that, Jack.
Okay.
I still think we're in a community that's not needed. I think we're in a community that we need to be aware of our surroundings. And you know, especially here in town with the city officers being readily available, they get there pretty quick and they take care of us, they watch our backs. So, and you know, if there's not a gun involved, you know, if somebody wants to throw them down, I guess we'll have to throw it down until we get out, you know, whatever we need to do. But vests would be very difficult for us. Now, if you're going to an active shooter or something like that, it would be feasible. But if you're going to a fire, the last thing you're thinking about putting a ballistic vest under your gear. That just
Might be a new evolution of gear down the road that some of these
that has the ballistic vest already in them. Yeah, it might
some
be.
suppliers are.
I would hate for that.
Yeah, yeah.
At this point in time, I would say not at this time.
Okay.
Anything else for Chief Kimball?
I would just like to make a comment for people with the, having fireworks and firecrackers at their homes in the city. What I'm concerned about oftentimes is after the 4th of July, some people still do it for 4 or 5 more, 6 days, whatever. And that's just not the right thing to do. That's not common sense.
Most house fires that are caused by fireworks have to do with improper discard after the fact. They throw them just in like in a plastic garbage can, or and they think they're out, but they're not, and then all of a sudden the house is on fire. It's all about properly putting them, the old ones into water, the metal bucket with water. That's the key.
Most of the incidents we have, as far as fire involved with fireworks, or people.
We try to keep this up here, but give me a second.
Trying, people are doing something with fireworks they shouldn't.
All right, Dennis?
I would like to add to that, pick up your residue from your fireworks if you play them in the yard. Because if you have pets or animals come through, they could step on a sharp piece of metal or something along that order and hurt themselves. And that's just not right. So clean up after yourself. That's what I want to point out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for Chief Kimball?
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too. All right, we've got, under old business discussions, the Revenue and Expense Review Committee has met and has some recommendations for the full body of council. This is regarding outside entity funding requests. The first, as Amy alluded to in the budget revision, the Buckhannon Upshur Regional Airport Authority has asked for an additional $20,000 in funding. So with some changes that have been made up in DC, there's less federal funding through the FAA for small regional airports. They are asking going from their original $20,000 yearly contribution amount to $40,000. That's total, so an additional $20,000 to the Buckhannon Upshur Regional Airport Authority. If you'll recall, in this budget that we worked on back in February that took effect on Tuesday, there already was $20,000 allocated. This would be an additional $20,000, making it $40,000. That is the recommendation from the Revenue and Expense Review Committee to allocate a total of $40,000 to the Regional Airport Authority. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zuliani. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing the need for none, I'd entertain a motion. I'd call for that question. All those in favor signify by saying aye to the BU Regional Airport Authority.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, that motion carries. Second line item that was discussed at the Revenue and Expense Review Committee was allocating $2,500 to the Leadership Upshur program, of which the Revenue and Expense Review Committee is sending back to Council a recommendation to not allocate funding to the Leadership Upshur program for this year. That is a $2,500. That was a $2,500 request.
That's for the chamber?
Well, the chamber is tied to it, yes.
What did we give last year?
$2,500.
Is there a reason why they don't want to do it this year?
Well, we've not received really any reports as far as who's been a part of the program, what the program curriculum has entailed, what's the success rate, and then are the employers who are putting individuals into the program, what's the return on investment for them? There's just some questions out there that we've not been able to get answers to.
Who are the individuals responsible for that?
Well, I mean, the chamber is kind of overseeing it, but there's just kind of an ad hoc committee, and I'll tell you, so I was asked to be a part of that back when it got started, and we met several times, but it really doesn't meet anymore.
Are we going to tell them why we're not? I think that would be.
Well, I think that needs to come after this meeting. If the council agrees with the Revenue and Expense Review Committee's recommendation, that would be communicated to Leadership Upshur.
I would make the motion that we accept what the Revenue and Expense Committee has asked us to do.
Okay? Is there a second to that?
I'll say.
Second by Rob. Any further discussion on that? Everybody's been like right on it tonight as far as. Okay, I call for that question to not allocate $2,500 to Leadership Upshur.
I think we should tell them why.
Well, we will.
Okay. Yay. Aye.
Aye. Everybody says aye. Like, sign opposed? Motion carries. So that, the Revenue and Expense Review Committee's report has been confirmed by the City Council. Moving to new business discussions. You see on B and C, as was discussed with Jay, we will not take action on those at this time. We will carry those to a future meeting of which we need to have a decision made by July 23rd, and I'll work with Teresa on Monday to schedule that meeting for us. I'm asking that we reschedule the City Council meeting from July 17th to July 15th. We have some deadlines that we need to meet relative to the water plant discussion. There's a long list here of dates that we need to hit, starting with a recommendation to City Council from the Water Board on July 10th. We need to have a first reading before, like early in the week on that July 14th through 18th, because then we have to have a notice given to the Record Delta based on their printing schedule for a Class 2 legal ad. So I'm asking that we move, instead of scheduling a special meeting for this and then turning around and having another meeting, that we just schedule our City Council meeting on July 15th, Tuesday.
That's good.
Works for everyone?
Yes.
All right. So I'd entertain a motion that we schedule the July 17th meeting on Tuesday, July 15th.
So moved.
Motion by Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Zuliani. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. So we will advertise that to make sure everyone knows. We are down to council member comments and announcements, and so we will begin over here with Mr. Randall.
Big thanks to Andy. Appreciate your hard work on the budget. I just wanted to amplify the choice to spend 2/3 of our remaining current opioid funds. The broad reach that the program affects Upshur residents of any age with that master's is great. Fits the mold for its intention very well, in my opinion. Appreciate JB and his work on the first two. I would like to continue meeting on that. I think it's important to note that the fire departments in Buckhannon are not just responding to fire rescue, and that's a very important factor considering the first two as well, specifically flooding tragedies and big events that we're having this weekend. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As noted, Mrs. Bucklew is absent. Mr. Rigger.
Last week I had the opportunity to go out to the Mudlick at the new fire training facility. The external facility that's being built, and of course they do have a training facility that was donated by Loudoun County Fire Department that simulates a one-story building. And I think it was Thursday, and I think the temperature was 96 degrees. And I am sitting outside, and these gentlemen and ladies are putting their equipment on, and they go in and they close the doors, and they start a fire. And it probably reached about 1,000 degrees inside. And of course, it's just training. You know, what do you do? What do you not do? And I mean, I was very impressed. And I'm anxious for us to get the 3-story building completed for their training. and observe that. And, they're just to be commended because, when they do go into a fire, they are putting themselves at risk, at the same time trying to save lives and secondly property. And they're to be commended. And to go out on a 96-degree day where the humidity was just as bad and put that equipment on and then just go into the heat was very impressive. And I think it reflects a level of dedication that's to be admired and respected. That's about all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Thomas.
Well, I endorse what everybody said so far, and I would ask the people that are celebrating the 249th celebration of our country, be respectful to your neighbors and their pets and other animals of Mother Nature and people that are veterans with PTSD. We'll have a lot of noise tomorrow night, but don't keep going on for 3 or 4 or 5 more days. That happens all the time. And I also would like to say, I'm sure, gosh, some former neighbors of mine, Steve and Libby Randall, have to be extremely proud of Scott and Jen, because I knew them when they were just little tiny kids. Remember that, Scott? Jumping on the trampolines and everything?
I do.
So that was really neat. A lot of people may not know that Jen and Scott were brothers and sisters, but they are. So y'all have a great 4th of July and a weekend, and all be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Zuliman.
Just to have a happy, safe 4th of July.
Short and sweet. Best report ever. Mr. Sanders.
Okay, I got the city recorder report, remarks, and announcements. Nothing.
Even another report.
Way to go, man.
Upcoming events at the Event Center at Brushy Fork. Want to remind everybody that July 12th to the 27th is the annual West Virginia Army National Guard Summer Drill. So they'll have the entire complex for those 2.5 weeks. And then we'll come back August 15th, host St. Joseph's Hospital and the Rotary for the blood drive. And then we do take a 6-week break because from August 18th through September 30th, no events will be held for a complete renovation of the parking lot out at the event center and the readiness center for the Army National Guard. They're going to reline the concrete plot that's already there instead of the straight-in parking that's kind of awkward now. They're going to diagonal park. They're building new entrances to the new side that's nearing completion. And they're going to pave everything else that's out there, so there will be no more gravel. It'll all be paved all the way out to the highway. I spoke with the superintendent on that job. That is a locked-in date for paving. They will not change that. He said some of his crews are running ahead, others are kind of lagging behind. They have till December, I learned, to finish that project, not counting the emergency days. But, we're getting closer and closer and closer all the time. But once we get everything paved out there, it's going to make all of our events that we host much, much better. So we have a lot of things in the works for later on. And I'll just, for as far as remarks, Dave, I think it's the 250th birthday, isn't it?
No.
1776?
No, 249 is, we're starting the 250th.
Are we? Okay, all right, we'll work on that one. Feather that one out. Katie, know you have an opinion?
Well, it's been
That's okay, Dave, I'm just...
it's been on the radio and all sorts of TV.
Yeah, okay.
249.
That's correct then. I think that's it for me then. I think I had something else, but I'll put right on my head. All right.
All right. Dennis, I'm sorry you got some water last week.
I needed a bath anyway.
It amazes me that people jump to blame the city for these type of events. It is abnormal to receive 3.5 inches of rain in 35 minutes, but we did. It is abnormal to see what has taken place in Wheeling and in Fairmont, but it happened. I can tell you, I've spoken with Jay, I've spoken with Ethan. We could completely overhaul the culvert and drainage system in this town And yet still, 3.5 inches of rain in 35 minutes is going to create issues. The way Buckhannon is built, the topography of it, it doesn't lend itself to be in great shape for a large water event. 1/3 of the city's land and structures sits in the flood zone. The lower part of the downtown, the southern half of downtown, is essentially a bowl. Main Street sits higher, Canala Hill's higher, Florida Street's higher, the Jawbone Run is higher, and it all comes down to the triangle. And it's going to do that forever. It's done it forever. It's going to do it forever. And in order to do what some people think we should do, we would need to tear down about 40 houses and about 30 businesses and completely rip the land apart and put in 6-foot giant culverts. And it's still going to flood because it's the lay of the land.
You also have moving land. You know, the college, when they were building a lot of things, they found out that there was a lot of movement within the.
Well, that happens too.
Yeah.
We do have some quicksand around here.
That's a real issue.
But the bottom line is, climate change is a real thing, and we are seeing it. And these storms are becoming more severe. They're dropping more rain, and it's going to continue. What Chief said about not driving down streets that are flooded is absolutely correct. I was out all night that night, roping off streets, and I could not believe the amount of people that were out just for joyriding, wanting to drive down streets to create big waves. There are a lot of houses that sit along these streets that were getting flooded that sit a little bit below the street. That wall of water would have just gone right into people's basements, crawl spaces, living rooms. It was already going in. It would have been waves of water going in. So let's just be mindful of our neighbors. Let's try to help each other out when those things happen. I feel bad for everyone that got flooded. My parents' neighborhood was hit. They got a little water in their garage, but nowhere near what a little bit below them received, where Dennis lives and the White Hairs, and so.
Actually, I didn't get a whole lot in the garage. Just a little bit until I shut the little door, then it stopped.
We also had sewer backups too.
Yeah, but it went across the backyard and then on down Gum Street as it usually does.
Yeah, the White Hairs got it again. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, I feel bad for them
but
too.
It could have been worse had the street, we not roped off streets when we did to keep people from driving through those areas. So
I felt obligated to call it in, but I didn't have a major problem with it. But thanks for mentioning me.
Must have just looked worse than it was for you, because it didn't look very good. So anyway, let's just keep an eye out for each other. Have a happy 4th of July. Enjoy the fireworks. Sponsored by the City of Buckhannon. Have a great weekend. At 8:48, I entertain a motion that we adjourn. All right.